Right, so if you have a business or a brand, here's why you should leverage SEO to increase your brand's perceived value. And this might seem like a bit of a nonsense, but trust me, it's all gonna make sense, right? And by brand, I mean either your personal brand, right, or your brand that sells any product or service, right? So first things first is, what is perceived value? And the best way I can explain this is, there's a reason why Apple can charge 10 times the price for AirPods, whereas, for example, your local store, or maybe, for example, Samsung charges 1/10 of the price. Same thing goes for iPhones, right? It's because the people's perceived value, the value people perceive from Apple is so much higher, they can, quote unquote, get away with selling their products for such a high margin, right? Just like, for example, luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, their bags are made in the same factory, kind of, in China where other bags are made, but the brand's history, right, throughout times has created this big perceived value, and that's why, again, they can charge 10 times the price for maybe a product that's kind of more or less the same, right? It's all about the brand and how people perceive your brand, right? And the truth is that the higher the perceived value, the more likely customers are to buy from you. For example, this is quite simple, right? Let's say you're a local plumber. You have a site that's very, very ugly, ranking on the first page, ranking number one, right? And you have the second one, right? Another business that's not in first place, they're in second place, and their site looks amazing, right? Amazing UX, amazing UI, beautiful experience, right? But they're ranking second. Most likely what's going to happen is that if people click the first and the second, they're going to go for the second because the second one has a higher perceived value, looks cleaner, looks much better, and people go for the businesses that have the higher perceived value. Makes perfect sense. And you'll notice this as you go about in your life, that you're going to make decisions whether you spend your money with this person or this brand or that brand, most of the times based on perceived value, right? So what is the best way to increase a brand's perceived value, right? What is the best way to increase the likelihood for customers to buy from you, right, as an individual or from an actual brand, right? It's by increasing the amount of assets associated with it, right? For example, I'll give you an example of myself, right? I have this YouTube channel, right? If I were to have just one video on this YouTube channel talking about SEO, most likely you wouldn't really trust me because who's this guy? He has one video on his channel. He doesn't have any other content. It doesn't have any track record. How do I know if what he's talking about actually is true, right? The perceived value would be low. But because I have this big YouTube channel with a bunch of content, you'll see, maybe he actually knows what he's talking about because he has a bunch of content here. He's been talking about this for years. So your perceived value towards me is much higher. So again, your likelihood to buy from me is much higher than, for example, a new YouTube channel with no content on it. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, how does this apply to your actual brand, right? By increasing the amount of assets you associate with your brand, the higher the perceived value is. And here's exactly how to increase your brand's perceived value. For example, creating your own Wikipedia page, right? If I had my own Wikipedia page, my perceived value towards the internet would be much higher. Who's this guy? He has a Wikipedia page, which people associate Wikipedia pages with high perceived value, right? Authority, trust, right? Those are all the things that build out your perceived value. For example, the second thing is get featured on major news outlets, right? Nowadays you can buy most of this stuff, but for example, back in the day, if you saw someone on Forbes, you'd think, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy is trustworthy because I trust Forbes. Thus, I must trust this guy. Thus, again, his perceived value towards myself as a consumer is higher than the guy that is not on Forbes. So if you have two people, one on Forbes, one not on Forbes, most likely, again, because the perceived value of the person on Forbes is higher, you are most likely to buy from the person that is on Forbes, right? Create a knowledge panel, right? That's the thing that shows up on the side when you search for a brand or for a name on Google. Join Wikipedia alternatives, right? You have Wikipedia, you have a bunch of them because Wikipedia sometimes is hard to get the pages to stick, and that's a good thing, right? Because not every single person can create a page on Wikipedia because they get taken down if you're not notable enough according to their standards. So you know that if you see someone on Wikipedia, most likely they've done something good, right? So you cannot have these scammers on there. You cannot have any person there essentially, right? And that's how you essentially increase the perceived value of your brand by leveraging SEO. And I say SEO, search engine optimization, because all of these ones, right, all this stuff is going to be shown up when you search on a search engine, right? Whether that's Google, YouTube, whatever it is, however you want to build out these media assets, right? Because this could be a YouTube video, right? For example, you could create number 5 here, a podcast, right? An interview with Forbes, a podcast with this authoritative figure in this niche, right? Let's say, for example, you're a plastic surgeon. You have a 1 hour interview with a podcast with this surgeon that knows about whatever or invented whatever, right? You get what I'm saying, right? These don't necessarily need to be on Google, but they, of course, will be on a search engine because, I mean, first of all, SEO isn't going away, and humans will still search on search engines, whether that's Google, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And I have a video solely on this about search engines, now they're never going to disappear, hence why SEO is never going to disappear. But the point here is that these things are leveraged with SEO, right? You leverage SEO, leverage optimization of search engines to increase your brand's perceived value by increasing the amount of assets associated with it. And these assets can be, again, your own Wikipedia page, being featured on major news outlets like Forbes, MarketWatch, a bunch of them. I mean, you know all of them. Having a knowledge panel, joining a Wikipedia alternatives, having a podcast interviews. All these little assets will add up and increase yourselves or your brand's perceived value. Now, you can you can get all these unvetted, right? If you, I guess, yeah, for example, Wikipedia page, if you just type in here Wikipedia real quick, you can get one done for you. Again, like I said before, not everyone can have a Wikipedia done for themselves or for their business, right? It's a very strict place, but again, if you want to try it out, give it a go, you can do so here. I would advise you message Hillary right here. If you scroll down here, you can message him to see if he thinks you're a fit. You can have a Google Knowledge Panel down as well. You can search for that here on Vetted. I won't search it right now. This guy right here gets you an editorial link on MSN. Bart right here gets you on Business Insider, so all these press major news outlets, which again, then you can leverage, right? For example, let's say you buy these two services right here, right? These two. You don't just buying them one-off, right? You're buying them, maybe you can listen then in our social media, maybe you can publish articles that link out to these ones, maybe you can leverage these two assets to be posted, for example, on Forbes, right? So this isn't something that you build out once and disappears, right? These are assets, right? And I use the word assets very carefully here because all these Wikipedia, knowledge panels, all these links you can get here on Vetted, these are assets you can leverage to get to other places, right? For example, let's say you want to get on a podcast, right? You cold email someone, listen, I'm this person, I want to get on a podcast, right? Versus you cold email sending them, listen, I want to be on your podcast, I have a Wikipedia page, I've done this and that, I've been featured on MSN, I've been featured on Business Insider, I've been featured on Forbes, I have all these press, all these assets, right, that increase my perceived value, right? Most likely, you're much more likely to get these new opportunities by having all these assets associated with your brand, right? So again, if you know all this, just go to Vetted. All these guys will get it done for you. Yeah, that's it. That's the video. Hopefully this made sense. Hopefully you liked it. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and yeah, now I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.